But the most important thing he did has little to do with numbers, statistics, or even politics. He made us proud to say we're from New Jersey.
Okay, this a spot that is now running in New Jersey. It is called State of the State Embarrassment Ad. It kind of speaks to the issue of what is really the national temperature on Chris Christie. Okay, it goes on here. It's more than a minute in length, but it gives you the temperature that at the very time the governor should be basking here. In a blue state, a Republican governor winning by a huge margin, being lauded as the front runner, albeit extremely prematurely here, and loving every minute of the attention. Now he's in damage control mode here, and he certainly has changed his stripes, where he's known for bombast, for bullying, for the authentic stuff that I seem to think is politically appealing. My panel may not always agree with me on this. Well, that tone has certainly changed, and it's the side of Chris Christie we're not used to seeing, and we've seen it a lot in the last few days, contrite and apologetic. But then, these are hardly normal moments for the man who was, and still may be, that presidential frontrunner for the GOP.
Mistakes were clearly made, and as a result, we let down the people we're entrusted to serve. I know our citizens deserve better, much better. And I come out here today to apologize to the people of New Jersey.
Okay, so what does our panel think? We've got a good one tonight. Dominic Carter, political journalist, author. Chris Shays, former Connecticut congressman and distinguished fellow in public service at the University of New Haven. And Andrew Whitman, our senior political correspondent. There's a lot of questions in this, but I want to start because do any of these stories have commonality? You've seen a governor in your home state, get thrown out of office for bettering his home or his shed or whatever the heck it was. You've seen a president nearly taken down by a sex scandal. You've seen a lot of politicians taken down by greed or graft or whatever else. This is the first time I can remember an administration, at least his administration, intentionally trying, as I said yesterday, to screw his own constituents to do political payback. And now we're seeing the beginning of what could be a very crippling investigation, and it could even open up the floodgates. Do any of them have parallels or commonalities?
I don't think they have parallels. What I found intriguing was I liked Christie better after the press conference than before. Notwithstanding that he was sounding a little more hurt that people did it to him rather than what happened to the public. But no, I was intrigued by it. I think his big concern has got to be if there is a culture where people did this, then they just didn't do it once. And if they just did it once, then he's okay. But if there's some other examples out there, then no apology will satisfy the public.
What was that made you like him more after the presser? Was it the fact that he wasn't being bombastic, he wasn't being the tough guy?
Well,
that
no,
he was...
I've seen a lot of politicians from Clinton, never meeting the press, taking one question after another. I haven't seen hardly any politicians do it. I didn't see that after Benghazi, but here we saw it. And it was, to me, incredibly refreshing.
Oh, Andrew, I saw Arnie Vinnick do it after the power plant problem on the West Wing.
I think Geraldine Ferraro, though, back in '84.
Yeah,
I think it was when the question surfaced about her husband. But yeah, it popped up on the West Wing. Also, nice Benghazi reference.
Yes,
nice to get that.
Well played. So Thursday, as you heard from the Assemblyman, the committee's going to start getting together. They're going to game plan. We know where some of the subpoenas are going. Ms. Bridget Kelly, who was called, among other things, an idiot, stupid, deceitful, and a lot of other less than flattering things.
Way.
Exactly, from the governor. We know also Seppian, we know Wildstein, we know there's going to be those. But some are saying even the governor could be subpoenaed. The Assembly wouldn't go there tonight here, but this thing's going to be very far-ranging.
And there's in so many different directions too. It's almost hard to keep track of. Yes, all of those people will be called to testify.
And without a lot of incentive to go to bat for the governor.
Before the legislative committee. Some of them may take the Fifth Amendment. There's going to be pressure on trying to get some of those blacked out names in some of those documents that have been released to remove that and disclose where those sources are coming from. Who wrote, is it wrong that I'm laughing about the kids?
That was redacted. We still don't know who that is.
That was redacted. Right. Was that Governor Christie? We'll find out. There's the federal prosecutor who's looking into the Sandy money. There are state prosecutors who are also looking into this. You may get New York prosecutors who look into it because of the Port Authority's involvement of all this. Plus, you have private lawsuits, civil suits that may come from people who live in Hoboken, or I'm sorry, in Fort Lee. If that gets to the point where they get disclosure in this case, there may be even more information that comes. Plus, we never know at some point if one of these Christie aides, the ones that you mentioned or others, may just turn around and roll on the governor and say, yeah, he knew about it, we talked about it XYZ date.
Richard, I can't see a scenario where out of the gate on Thursday, the governor of the state is served with a subpoena. I just can't imagine that at all. The only way Governor Christie gets a subpoena is if there's a discretionary area, someone doesn't answer a question, and they have no other choice.
I think you should voluntarily go.
No.
Why not?
It would be great. It would be refreshing for people like us.
And they'd be unprepared, and then they wouldn't have to call him, or if they tried to call him back, he'd be like, well, no, I already answered it. But the other thing is, we've talked about this before, anybody who's taken a bruising from Governor Christie so far is now feeling free to complain about it, to talk about it. Any little issue that has come up or may have come up or that people think might have come up will now get investigated by the press and by investigators. Anybody who's got, something, a score to settle with the governor is going to try to get even.
And that's where the problem is, Richard. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at yet. To the Democrats that cross party lines to endorse Christie, the floodgate was opened. Almost anything you want. Millions of dollars in Port Authority money came into your district for almost any project that you wanted.
And just to interrupt for 1 second, conversely, but conversely,
this couldn't possibly happen.
They've had mayors, whether it's the Hoboken mayor, who was promised some Sandy relief funds that never materialized because she didn't endorse, the Jersey City mayor, who was promised to have private level meetings with senior staff, and they all call back one call off the other after he didn't endorse this governor. You have all these people saying, I thought he was just being tough with me, but this fits a pattern, it's political reprisals. Some of it may not even be true, but it fits this narrative. I have one thing for you. You've been around a lot of prosecutors, including federal prosecutors. The more I think about this, that's mind-boggling is, the thing happened in September. Dismissed, pushed away. We'll even get to the Cuomo side of this in a moment here. But the Wall Street Journal, to their credit, got the story, stayed on it. Other papers started coming along. Democrats were begging the press to pick up on this. This governor waited till December to get together with his staff. Now, this is a guy who knows how to do an investigation. And he says, you got an hour to go talk to the either the attorney or the chief of staff. If I don't hear anything, I assume everything's copacetic. And then he goes out and he does a press conference where he jokes about the traffic cones. It doesn't fit the narrative of Christie, where he always crosses the T's and dots the I's, and knows how to conduct an investigation, and knows if he wants to get the answer, how to get there. That's the part to me that says, I thought he did great earlier this week. I think people underestimate how hard it is to go for an hour and 40 minutes without tripping over yourself at all. Yeah, it looked a little self-serving at times, but overall, by the end, he exhausted every question, said, anybody got any more, and he walked out of the room. That's tough to do. We can count on one hand how many politicians can do that. That said, this thing, I can guarantee only this much, this is going to go on for weeks, not months. This is not near done. You guys agree?
I agree. It's going to go on. The Democrats are going to every last breath that they can get out of it. It's payback time.
Dominic,
that's the best way to say
it.
this.
Legislators love this kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Well, let's
it's like the mother's
let's
milk,
put aside the fight for his job, the fight to keep in the governor's mansion, because that's all going to depend on what evidence there is out there and how that comes forward. And
you do agree with me, Andrew? If he's caught, he made a line in the sand which says, I knew nothing, never heard about it, never knew nothing. This is completely new. I found out the first time when I was at the treadmill. If they catch even, he didn't give any gray area. If they catch him once, that he did know something.
I think so. But it's one of the, by the way, a photo surfaced today, one of the officials from the Port Authority who resigned, Wildstein, he said, I don't know Wildstein that well, we don't talk very much. They were together on 9/11. For the ceremony of Port Authority property. And there's a picture of them joking today, but trying to reestablish his political status. I mean, it's a separate fight besides just trying to stay in office, trying to get back to the guy he was, trying to make himself the candidate again potentially
Well, and that's
for
the perfect
2016.
segue, Chris, for you, which is it's not just the legislators in Trenton who, are kibitzing and gossiping about whatever. Right now, who's happier? Rand Paul and the conservatives who felt that Christie took every chance to kick him? Or is it the Jeb Bushes and the others who say, I now assume the mantle here of the one rational or the Republican who can win and get the middle of the American political public on my side? Which part of the party is happier at Chris Christie, who they thought was a little bit higher than...
This may seem a little naive. I don't think any Republican is happy, because when you have somebody who everybody kind of looks up to...
Paul didn't seem too upset when he talked about the traffic comment.
Well, it's interesting. It hurts the Republican Party, plain and simple.
You think so?
It hurts everybody.
Tom Kane Sr., who you
he's
a complete gentleman of the First Order. But just to show, they always say I overestimate Christie's talents, but some of this is so petty. He went after Tom Kane Jr., who, Senate Minority Leader.
Right.
And he tried to get him a coup to get him thrown out. Now he's got Tom Kane Sr., who you have to try not to like, to speak ill of you right now. He chose enemies he didn't need to do here.
Right.
A mayor in Fort Lee, really? I mean...
Well, I buy the fact that he said he really didn't have any contact and wouldn't really care what he had thought. But the thing that I think is he was so strong about some of his own staff. They know everything there is to know about him. Everything. And, they may be tempted to just say some other things that are just unpleasant but not illegal.
If you're the assistant, Bridget Kelly, I believe is her name.
The deputy, right?
The deputy.
Former.
I mean, the former, and you have 4 children.
You're unhireable right now.
You're done. What incentive does she have to stay on Team Christie?
Especially when you're called deceitful, stupid,
all
ignorant,
types
and
of
all
things.
the rest.
And Richard, but I know we got to go to a break, but maybe when we come back, I don't know. I'm curious as to, he wanted to be the chair of the Republican Governors Association. Are governors around the country going to want to be seen with Chris Christie now?
He needs to back off that. No point in doing that. That's just a distraction.
He is the chairman, though.
When we come back here, we switch gears. And thank you, Andrew. And Mr. Shea's going to have an interesting take on this. Today, important hearings on Capitol Hill. It has to do with the NSA. Interesting report. President Obama appointed this committee, and they came back with a lot of things that weren't too flattering about what's going on with this administration as it relates with domestic surveillance as well. We're going to talk about that in that line between privacy and protection. Stay with us.